Hello everyone, I'm Milana Mill, and this time I'm here with Spot Fuzz, a comic artist,
Hello.
and Teraset, a writer.
Hello.
And for this video, for this podcast actually, we are gonna talk about Patreon. We did a part 1 on Spot Fuzz channel, so the link is gonna be in the description, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out because it's kind of important you watch that one before you listen to this one. So for this video, we are gonna go more into details about Patreon, such as do you deserve a Patreon, when do you make your Patreon, fan art on Patreon, style, copying artists, reward types, and cross-pollination.
Cross-pollination.
Yes. That's too hard word for me. I'm not
It's
native.
That's fine.
Yay. But yeah, those are the things we are going to go over, and this video is probably gonna be very long, so I would recommend listening to it while drawing or working, since there's not gonna be any interesting visuals. So just listen to it when you feel like it.
Yay.
So, if you guys are ready, should we go to the first topic?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you deserve a Patreon?
Yes.
It's an obvious answer.
The answer is yes, in case you're wondering. Because I guess it's not obvious to everyone. Like, the entire reason we had to put that in there is because there's this sort of rash of people who, at least from my perspective, are just jealous. They're just jealous that there's people who can make money off of doing something they love and that they don't have to, like, get up and go to a 9-to-5 job every day. And so they're like, you don't deserve to make that money. You don't deserve to run a Patreon. Patreon is only for people who are really struggling.
It's really a hang up from the 9-to-5 culture, I find, where it's people just have this idea ingrained in their heads that you have to do what you hate for a living, and if you enjoy it, then you're not working. It's like somehow your work isn't as valuable.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what I find.
No, it's what I think as well. Like, people always undermine creative works because it's not unless it's mentally and physically stressful, or either of the two, then it's not really a real work. I mean, I want to be an artist and people constantly put me down on it, that's not really a real work, I'm doing a real work. It's like, what are you doing? You're baking buns in factory. That's all you're doing. You're taking buns, baking them. That's your job. Is that no offense to
Is it
anyone.
really fulfilling?
Yeah.
I guess for some people, for actual bakers, I suppose it definitely is. That's
But they're not working in a factory.
Oh, right. You said
Yeah.
factory.
No offense.
I mean, it's funny. You still find people who are in what's traditionally the lower end jobs where they don't pay very well, where they legitimately do care about hospitality and stuff. But for the majority of people, they'd really rather be doing something else. And I don't see any logical basis behind devaluing their work just because it's not physical labor of some kind.
Yeah. And
Well, it's anything creative. Anything. What I find this sticks pinned on the most is if whatever you do for a living is not directly related to survival. So, for example, anything, basically any sort of physical labor typically falls into this. If it's not directly related to survival, then it's not real work. So art, basically the argument with art is, well, art can't feed you because it's just a picture. You can't do anything with art. It has no function or utility beyond just looking pretty. And so that's where it gets the devaluation. But it's kind of like, you could then just as easily look to any other job and go, well, what does that do? Because you could just as easily say, well, your job doesn't make people feel good. And, if suicide is any indication, feeling good is more important than staying alive. So it kind of goes in a loop.
Teresa and I talked about this a lot. Art, when we say art in this sense, it's just the broad sense of art of anything creative, even covering things like music.
Yeah.
Where there's tiers of work types. And I can't remember how you categorize them, but there's like a tier 1, tier 2, and a tier 3.
There's tier 4 actually.
Oh, tier 4?
Art is tier 4. Basically the 4 tiers, tier 1 is, production. Not really production, but it's like natural resources. So like mining is like a tier 1 job, or being like a logger where you're like cutting down trees and stuff is a tier 1 job. You're getting natural resources. The second tier is production, where you're taking natural resources and then turning them into something tangible, like taking wood and turning it into like framing for a house,
like a
or like a blacksmith, you know, what type of idea of like a, you know, taking iron that's dug out of the ground, or like Tektite or hematite and turning it into iron and then turning that into like rods or something. And then tier 3 is service, is now you're taking those pre-built things that the tier 2 people made and you're selling them to other people. So you're distributing them. Tier 4 is like a luxury good. Tier 4 is like where it's not really, it's gone beyond, it's not really a service per se. It doesn't have anything to do anymore with like just survival and tangible things. Now it's like a emotional thing.
It's for pleasure only.
It does. Like, it does have a lot to do with survival though. And it's funny. It's just not in the way people think or understand. It's funny, in my high school drama class, she just kind of had a fun experiment, the teacher, where she asked us to pick a career just randomly. We didn't know what this was for. And I picked artist because that's what I wanted to be. And she said, all right, well, now we're in a hypothetical scenario where there can only be 4 people on a boat. So like maybe we've been in a plane crash or a boat sinking, and we can only get 4 people onto a survival boat, onto an island. And we can only pick the 4 people with the most important skills for survival. So of course, like the guys who picked like foraging and doctor, like the medical doctor got on, and she was going to kick me off, and then I gave her a convincing argument as to why I should be on. And art is culture. And without culture, people go insane. Like, they can have all the survival, they can have all the food, they can have the resources there. But without things like dance, drawing, music, whatever, people tend to get incredibly depressed. It's all to do with mental health. Yeah.
Like, and this is, the best thing is like, this is a thing that is getting increasingly known about in society because it's a mechanic in a lot of games now, for example. If you've ever played a survival game, like, just off the top of my head, I can name 4 that have a stress mechanic of some type where mental and emotional health is important, like Darkest Dungeons, you know, Project Zomboid, RimWorld, Cataclysm, Dark Days Ahead, or just 4 that I can name off the top of my head that have this mechanic. They're all survival games, like more or less. Like Darkest Dungeons, you can argue isn't, but it still has that function where if the characters get too stressed, if they get too depressed or whatever, they will go insane and they will basically kill themselves, kill other people. You know, it threatens the direct survival of everyone else.
I know people are going to probably hear the argument and be like, oh, so you're saying that if I don't see a picture tomorrow, I'll just go insane and start killing people? It's not. That's not quite. No, that's not how it works. But it's like a time thing. It's like you can only survive so long without self-expression or just pure enjoyment, really, before you just start to, I don't know how to put it. It's like it's a depression that leads to mania. Mania is
a different thing, but it's more depression. Like boredom, extreme boredom, like people who've been in solitary confinement for like, you know, years or like, you know, have spent long terms in it, it affects their brain, like the physical structure of their brain. It actually like does damage.
No, if you saw, Michael, his YouTube name is Vsauce. He did an experiment where he was put into a room, and this room is completely devoid of anything but just pure survival. Like, there's soap, there's a toilet, I think it was like a bed, and a bath, I think, or it was like a shower, and just some towels, like just the very, very basic items that he needed to be hygienic and just survive, and, you know, like food and water, and that's it. And it was all pure white, no windows, no anything. And I know it's, you know, it's just like solitary confinement type thing. And like they're saying like 3 days is the maximum people can do this in without going nuts.
Yeah.
and he was struggling even just on the second day. So you find that like art is in a lot of things that people don't realize. It's like it's in your tables. It's not just the things that you hang on the wall. It's the way you decorate a room.
Yeah.
And I lived in a house without that when I was really poor in Australia. And it did really affect me. It made me feel really depressed when I was in my house because it was so, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just like so boring. It felt lifeless.
So to bring this back to the main
Yeah.
point, because this was all related. The point of this is that if you want to start a Patreon for art or anything related to like anything like that, yes, you deserve to do it. You deserve to
These
make
were
that Patreon.
reasons why.
This is the point of why you do deserve
You have
that.
value.
Yeah, like you do have value. Even if other people are like, it's, there's no value to that. There is value to it. There's measurable value.
Some people have made really, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say that, I actually read about this a little bit, online. Like, there was, I don't remember who said it and where they said it, but, I think this person said a very smart quote. They said that, people don't appreciate the time it took to become Michelangelo or, like, Picasso or something as much as the time it took to become an Einstein. Like, it's basically the same. They both take effort, but people still appreciate the academic, like intelligence more than artistic one, even though they are equal. They take equal amount of hard work and time.
I think what this really results from is people have this idea that with art, you're just born. Like, they understand that things that are more arithmetic, like math and science, is that you have to apply yourself and you have to study and you have to go to school and everything to become amazing at it, become a leader in that field. But they think, like, people legitimately believe that people who are good at art and music are just born that way. Like, they literally frickin' pop out with a paintbrush in their hand. Like, they just magically know how to do everything. And it's incredibly retarded, but
all I can think of now is like baby comes out like, how do you get that in there?
That's it.
But you see, I see that attitude every single time, like on Reddit, where someone will make like a really amazing drawing, and then they ask the artist, "Oh my god, like how did you do that?" Because it's like hyper realistic. And the artist will come back and be like, "Oh, I was just drawing since a young age, and I went to concept art and they gave me lots of critiques, and then I applied myself and I studied and took the time." And then the people come back and they're all angry and they're like, they pretty much have the attitude of like, how dare you say that it took time? Like, I could never do this.
Yeah.
You're just talented. You're just talented. Like, obviously you were just made that way. I could never become Michelangelo. I could never become these people. And it's like, well, sure, if you tell yourself that, you can't.
Yeah, it's self-fulfilling prophecy at that point.
Like, it's literally just a skill like any other. Like, even logic, like being creative or logical skills, like critical thinking, rational thinking, like these are all skills that you can improve.
Yeah. Some people are born with more and some people are born with less, but that doesn't mean that you can never become what you want just because someone else has a sort of head start.
Which rolls very nicely into our next talking point, which is, when should you start your Patreon? The answer is now.
Yes.
There's a lot of articles. When I went to start mine, I read up a lot of articles, and I was originally thinking, oh, well, obviously I should just hold it off until I start getting some of the content produced. And then I read probably the most convincing article where this lady was just saying now. And her reason being was that in a way you're competing against other people who have Patreons, but also in a larger way you're not. It's a really weird paradox where ultimately what you don't want to do is wait for all these artists, like hundreds of artists, to go out and establish their Patreons and then have lots of money, lots of supporters coming in. And then you, like 10 years later down the line, come in and you're not even noticed, and then pretty much like so many, like most of the people who are willing to give their support are kind of already doing that. It's, I don't know how I can't remember quite how she put it.
No, I get it. I kind of look at it as you should at least give people the option to pay you, even though it's right, even if it's right at the start, even if you've done absolutely nothing. At least there's like that PayPal donate button. So if for whatever reason someone wants to, it at least exists.
They're like, because you're not forcing people to pay for it. At least if you're not doing the paywall type.
Yeah.
And it's just like
and
no,
sorry, yeah, you go.
No, I was just like, because I also kind of used to think that I should wait till I'm ready, and then I figured that, well, what do I lose if I started now? Like, I literally lose nothing. Like, the later is gonna come at some point anyway. Like, someday maybe I will be ready, but it doesn't really harm me if I started now. Like, nothing is taken away.
And the best thing is about doing it now is you have all the time in the world before the majority of supporters come in to fix and refine all your rewards, all your text, everything that you're doing with your campaign, so that if you try to change things later, it's not going to affect a lot of people who might be upset about the changes.
Well, yeah, we can definitely speak from experience on that. We've made lots of mistakes and changes already.
And luckily it's only affected one person, which brings me to my next point, is like, if we hadn't waited, I wouldn't even be earning the little amount I do per page. I'd be earning $0.
Yeah.
5 is still better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, you never really know. I didn't think I'd get anyone, and I'm amazed I did.
I didn't, because we weren't even doing anything yet. We set our stuff up. We're like, all right, we're going to set this up so it's just there, so that when we want to actually go post stuff, we actually have somewhere to post it to, and like, it was surprising.
And then it wasn't just that too. It was like when I put up the journal, it's like I had other people who were expressing their interest in it too, and it's just like, well, obviously it's just a matter of time obviously I should just open it up now, let that one person pledge because they really seem to want to, and then I can just refine everything until I can get everything out, and then it seems like I have people who are already interested for that time.
Yeah, the same for me. Like, I didn't really expect to get like because, well, I don't really, because for me it's also like pay per post, even though I never really charge anything because I have the monthly goal, and I don't really see it's there, but I never charge my Patreons for anything. It's only a tip jar. But I was still happy to see that, I also had a person who, donated me money, like $4 pretty much right after I started my Patreon. I was like, oh, it's actually really nice. Like,
yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, I keep cutting her off. It's unfair.
Let her talk.
Sorry.
No, I was, what was I gonna say? I don't, but yeah, like, the only thing I wanted to say is that even though the start is gonna be like slow, it's not like when you open up a Patreon, you will, unless you're super popular, you will most likely not have like thousands of people just pushing their money at you. But like, even to see that things are going better for you, that it's eventually people are gonna start paying more and stuff, so you don't really lose anything. And even if people don't throw their money at you like right away, you shouldn't get disheartened, because I feel like a lot of people who do commissions and who want to start a Patreon, I feel like they're also really afraid not getting the money, afraid of not getting anyone to pay them because it's going to discourage them and make them feel bad and not wanted. And I think that's a sort of wrong approach.
Yeah, which actually that perfectly brings us into the next point, because they'll end up doing a lot of, well, what I think are really terrible business decisions where not only do they value themselves really low because of that, it's like they have this, it's like from a psychological point, it really looks like they have this, attachment to commissions that they only find value, like their self-worth, like even in just themselves and then their art as an extension.
Yeah.
They only find that when people pay them. And so they're willing to put it as low as possible to get as much as that like external validation as possible.
This is something that I've been really thinking of doing my own YouTube video on. And once I can do it in a way that isn't very ranty, then yeah, it's all about this phenomenon I've noticed where I call it externalism versus internalism, which is people basically seeing one part of the world as being more important than the other. In other words, externalism is the external world. It's everything outside of yourself. So getting external validation for things or external meanings given to you for your life, as opposed to internalism, which is, it comes from you. You define it yourself and all that stuff. And in my opinion, one is vastly healthier than the other, but
which does directly, bring us to the next point of
fan art.
Yeah, fan art on Patreon. Because, it's, like with these types of topics, like, because we're going to talk about fan art on Patreon and then style copying artists, which I think are direct, like, kind of one and the same. I just forgot what I was going to say.
No, I was thinking that you are going to talk first, because I think you had something you especially wanted to talk about, the fan art. So I think you should go.
Yeah. It's, these things aren't inherently wrong, but you need to really look hard at why you're doing it before you do it, especially for Patreon. Because I know you and I, Milana, have seen, our artist blog has seen a lot of people, since the rise of Patreon, and especially, like, I hate to always bring up her name, but because she's just so, famous on Patreon, you just kind of have to.
Yeah.
Sakime-chan, and I think there's other artists. I'm not sure. I know Gu Wei's is one who gets copied a lot. I don't know if he's on Patreon.
Me neither.
I'll just stick with Sakime-chan because she's the most notorious example.
Yeah.
But
and
everyone since, I swear to God, she has copycats everywhere. People who are trying to paint exactly like her. And I understand why. It's because I guess for some people, like, her art, it's bright, it's colorful, it's shiny, it's semi-realistic anime, it has that appeal. But for a lot of them, they also start their own Patreons and then they do their campaigns exactly the same way, or the same content, doing, like, fan art in her style. And it's basically like a Chinese rip-off version of that artist.
Yeah, it's just like a cheap copy of the original, and in the end, why would, like, sure, some of those people do earn money, but if you think of it, like, actually, why would people buy from you when they could buy from original? I mean, in Sakime-chan's Patreon, especially since Patreon is like, there's a set price and then you can get these rewards and stuff, like, in commissions, like, some rip-off artists, they do so that they price themselves lower so that people buy the cheap copy, but in Sakime-chan's case and in Patreon's case, usually the prices are pretty equal, so why would people want to spend thousands of dollars on your art when they could just buy the original about the same price, basically?
Well, yeah, and this is, it goes into what a lot of people don't understand with style, is that when someone makes something that is completely original and unique to themselves, you can copy them, sure, but you're never going to be exactly like that person. Even if you have the same technical ability, there's always going to be things that are a little off. And especially what hurts these artists, in a lot of the cases, they don't have the same level of technical ability, which makes it even worse for them to earn money. They're hurting their own earnings because, sure, I could look at your art, but I can also look at it and be like, well, the head's all weird, her spine's broken. You're painting like her, but you don't really know how she paints, so it still looks really weird to me. If I wanted to see that art, and especially if I wanted to pay for it, I would just go to Sakime-chan because she just does it better.
Yeah. Like,
I guess we did these topics in reverse now.
It doesn't matter because we can talk about fan art here too. It's the same thing.
Well, it's not the same thing because the fan art has a lot more legality to it.
Yeah, I guess we got to talk about the legality of both of them. In the case of copying a style, it's not really. It can become a legal issue if you're imitating a style, an artist down to like the way they draw, the subject matter they draw. Doing an exact same Patreon campaign, it actually is pretty shady. It is pretty iffy thing. It's one thing to be like, oh, I'm inspired by them, and it's an entirely other thing to try and basically steal their money.
Yeah.
But it's not as big of an issue as it is for fan art.
Yeah, like if you're drawing someone else's property, intellectual property, and then you're making money off of it, there's a good reason why that is considered to be illegal, because you didn't do all of the work. You only did, the rendering part of the work. You didn't, make the world. You didn't, come up with, like, let's say it's attached to a story. You didn't come up with the story. You didn't come up with any of the other stuff around that. You're just copying it in a way. So you don't really.
You have to point out for that argument, it's like the world that they belong to, like the world building, that takes, in some cases, it literally takes years to develop. And the story, like the world, the environment, is a character in itself.
Yeah, and I know that firsthand because I'm the writer for, like, Spudfuzz and I work together on, our stuff. And I'm the one doing all the writing and world building. So yeah, it takes a long time to come up with something that makes sense. Like, I'm currently in the process of designing entire ecosystems of plants and animals that don't actually exist. And then I have to go through and logically figure out how and why certain things would evolve this way and not that way. So if you were to take all that stuff and be like, oh, I'm just going to draw this, let's say I come up with a creature or a plant or something, and then you draw that, and then you make money off of it. Well, I'm sorry, but I did most of the work to bring that thing into existence. Your rendering of it is not worthy of that money, in my opinion.
At best you did 1% of the work.
Yeah.
Like, you did 100% of the illustration, but you did 1% of the intellectual property.
Yeah, the intellectual work.
You didn't even do any of that, actually.
Yeah.
So it is like, it is really frustrating when people just kind of like, how do I put this the best way? Because the reason the artists are doing this is because, again, they don't find any value in their original content. That's not to say that there aren't artists who legitimately just do enjoy fan art. And I know Sakumi-chan, there's no way that she's not buying licenses for the work that she's doing with the kind of money that she's making.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she'd have lawsuits coming out of the ears.
Yeah. There's just no way, because she's drawing is she drawing Disney characters?
Oh yeah,
I don't know much about her. I don't know anything.
She does lots of Disney. She does Naruto. She does fairy tale. Like, she does everything pretty much under the sun.
And she does it because she likes it. And you guys probably didn't notice, but DeviantArt just hosted a live stream, or no more is it a live stream. It's just a video where of Sakumi-chan's live stream where people were able to ask questions about her, and she actually did say that she does indeed buy a license for the things she uses. So she indeed she indeed has the license, because when you look at Sakumi-chan, she's also super popular. So if she didn't buy a license, there's no way that someone wouldn't want to sue her, because she has so much money, and if they win the case, she
owes so much more money.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's no way with, like, because I could see her getting away with drawing like the Japanese IP of like Naruto and Fairy Tail. They don't, like, they're more lenient. They don't tend to care as much. They just consider it as advertising unless they're making ridiculous amounts. But Disney, oh my god.
Yeah.
They would be riding her ass about it.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't remember what we were talking about. We need to bring it back on point.
Oh my gosh. So originally we were talking about fan art and the legalities of fan art, but honestly there's a lot more to it. Like, in my opinion, I think you already covered this partially, but the fan art thing, or even fan fiction, comes from this idea, where, oh, my stuff's not good enough, no one's going to care about my stuff, or I want to get popular really quick, so I have to piggyback off something that's already popular. It's like the equivalent of reaction videos. I'm not going to make my own stuff. I'll just take someone else's stuff and then post it as my own. You know, that's kind of what it looks like to me anyways.
The point is like, you have to decide if you're actually a fan artist or not, because if your actual intent, like your real desire is to make original content, you're not going to be able to do that by doing fan art. And this happens all the time. Like on our blog, people will come and say, "Oh, I don't understand why all my audience, they're just not there anymore because I used to draw fan art, and then I started drawing original art, and then they all went away." And because the reason it happens is because people give really stupid advice where they're like, "Oh, if you want to be popular, you have to draw fan art." Yeah. And then people think that they have to do that for original content. No, like you can only become popular on the content you draw. If you suddenly change, like if you're drawing cars and then you have a lot of you have like 5,000 followers who really like your car drawings, and then the next day you only draw dinosaurs, all the car audience is going to leave because you're not drawing cars anymore. It's just logical.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, this was basically what I was talking about before we started recording. Like, if you can make people fall in love what you do because you want to do it, then that's already a sort of victory for you. So, forcing yourself to do something you don't really want to do just because it's popular is not really going to help your case, because those people are going to leave, and it's not really anyone's fault either. Like,
it was your choice to make that content.
Yeah, exactly.
That could open this massive can of worms. Just that one line. Well, it was your choice to do it. Your choice to make that content. Like, I know there's really horrible justifications for things that can come out of that.
All I mean is, it's like you can't blame your audience for leaving you when you kind of gave, like, you were false advertising your content.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what we also see a lot. Like, people being like, "Oh, you are not," like, they're kind of passive aggressive about it. It's like, "Oh, you're not my true fans." Like, "Oh, people don't really care about you as an artist. They only care about fan art." It's like, well, duh. I mean, the reason they probably found you is because they like the character and they like the way you drew the character or whatever you are doing. And if you suddenly switch, you cannot really blame your watchers or your followers that they don't switch with you. It's like people change.
I think the core of the issue, as you pointed out, it's not even like they might appreciate the way you drew the character, but ultimately they're there for the character.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's funny because this actually relates back to a topic from one of our earliest videos, one of the more ranty ones, where genre oversaturation, actually, where it's kind of like the same concept where, people are looking for certain genres of things. And if you suddenly change that, well, it's all those people go away. So it's not even genre oversaturation. Well, it is. It's like it's genre oversaturation if, like, you have a bunch of people and they're all drawing like the same style, or they're drawing the same fan art, of like a certain character or whatever. Inevitably, the most skilled is going to be the one everyone looks at, or the one who's like does it the best way that everyone, like the lowest common denominator, agrees with. They're the one who everyone's going to go to. You don't really have that nearly as much when it's your own original stuff, because you're the only one who has it. It can't be oversaturated in that same way.
And I want to point out, we're not trying to talk down to fan artists and all this kind of stuff. Like, if that's what you want to do, go for it. Just make sure you're with, like, the law. Tread as much as the gray area as you can. Don't actually go over the boundaries. If you're doing it, if you're not taking drawing the fan art from a really popular, like, established series that's mainstream, and they're just an indie person, at least approach that indie person and make a deal. Like, make sure they're okay with it, because that's much worse.
Yeah.
But really, like, we're trying to aim this towards the young artists, and I say young as in they're either new to art or they're just new to running their art business.
Young in terms of skill.
Yeah, I guess.
Or
whether it's art or business.
Yeah.
you have to find value in yourself. Don't resort to doing fan art. Don't resort to copying someone else's style and their campaign just because you don't think you'd ever make it. It's going to take longer, but if you do those other things, like if you copy other people or just copy draw other people's content, you're going to cap yourself because you're competing. If you're drawing the exact same subject matter or style, you're competing against people who are infinitely better than you. It's going to be so hard to make the same amount of money.
That reminds me actually of a lecture you and I think both listened to by, he's like the co-founder of PayPal.
Yeah.
And he also runs a security company called Palantir or something. And he had this interesting saying about for business where the next Bill Gates won't be building an operating system. The next Mark Zuckerberg will not be building a social network. And what he was talking about with that was if you are trying to copy these people's success, like the things that made Windows so successful as an operating system, the thing that made Facebook so successful, the thing that made Google so successful, you're missing the point. You're missing the point of how they got successful. You can't get successful now by making an operating system or making another search engine or anything.
It's already been done.
It's already been done.
You have to innovate.
You have to innovate. You have to, do something that has either never been done before or never been done before in that way. You have to find a sort of a niche.
You have to find your personal niche.
Yeah, and he had as much as some people, I can't remember this guy's name, but as much as some people really don't like him, he did have a point where he was talking about the most wealthy corporations and everything in the world all share one thing in common, and the most poor businesses in the world also share one thing in common. And that is that the most wealthy ones have no competition. And they have no competition because they have done something where they are effectively the only game in town. YouTube is a good example of this. There is, at the moment, no other platform like YouTube. Thus, YouTube gets all the traffic.
Yeah.
There is nothing, I was going to say Google. There's nothing like Google, but there's so many search engines now that no longer really applies.
They're still not quite
They're still not quite there.
Good as Google.
So it means Google is out in front. There's no one else that can compete against them. Yeah. Whereas the ones that are really, really poor is what they're trying to do is they're trying to compete. They're trying to be he had brought up this example of restaurants, where no one wants to give a loan to start a restaurant because they all fail really quickly. And it's because they try to act like they have less competition than they really have. It's if you're just another restaurant and you serve burgers, well then you have to compete against every other restaurant in the area that also serves burgers, which when you have to compete, you have to work that much harder, to make sure you stay afloat.
You can't even be creative at that point. You just have to have the best skill out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's sure, you get really, really, really skilled at what you're competing at, but you kind of miss the point. You kind of miss the point of how you are of how some of these other places are successful.
Yeah.
And this is, in my opinion, why, like I said, the fan art stuff and all that stuff, it's not wrong. It's not bad to do, like we've been saying, but, it is a matter of competition at that point. If you have 10 people all drawing, the same character, only a couple of them are probably going to be noticed because theirs are the most skilled and most interesting in how they did it.
And they probably have unique styles that are very personal to themselves.
Yeah.
They have very interesting interpretations of those characters.
Yeah. Basically what I was about to say about the style copying, because it kind of fits with the flow, is that when young artists, whatever, we, not necessarily by age, but by skill, what they kind of try to do is that when they copy these artists, or, artists like Sakimi-chan and other popular artists, is that what they fail to realize is that no matter how much you try to make yourself believe, there really is no shortcut when it comes to art. You cannot jump from beginner to Sakimi-chan. That's not going to happen. If you want to become her, you should live the exact same life step by step as she did. and that's not gonna happen because your life is your life. And that's also what makes these artists who copy like really sort of unsuccessful, at least when it comes to long term. Like, even if you were able to make a sort of money, it's not gonna last because you didn't go through that path. You just tried to jump from point A to point Y or Z or X without going through all the other alphabets.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, the reason Sakumi-chan is so popular isn't because she draws semi-realistic anime. It's because she's Sakumi-chan. She invented that style of drawing.
Yeah.
So she's always going to be the person known for it. If I see someone else's art, you know, and I don't even see their name attached to it, I'm going to be like, oh, it's an artist that draws like Sakumi-chan. I'm not even going to, like, psychologically, people aren't going to really see you as yourself. They're going to think, oh, it's that artist that draws like that other artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much all they'll really see. And that's like, that's practically the nail in the coffin for you if you're trying to run a business, because if everyone is always comparing you to, like, because basically it's the old adage of, you've made it when everyone is comparing everything else to you.
Mm.
You know, like when you are sort of the benchmark.
Yeah.
Then it just comes back to you every single time.
Mm. And like what was I gonna say? Like, what I think is that people should kind of just do what they like and draw what they like. You know, the style and what you do, it's gonna evolve naturally. Like, people shouldn't be too cautious about trying to be super original, but they shouldn't try to copy someone to the T either. Like, just do what you do. If you like something, sure, take some elements for them, and if you like what some other artists do, you can take some elements from them too. Like, I don't think people should put like too much into, because copying is one extreme, but another extreme is that people try to be super original, and that's also something you cannot really be, like, especially when it comes to style.
Yeah, a lot of the problems that result from trying too hard to be original is they often develop some really aesthetically, like, unpleasing styles. They're just not good to look at. At the end of the day, though, like, if you're genuinely doing what you genuinely enjoy doing, it's going to work out for you.
Yeah.
You're not, no one, not even Sakumi-chan, when she started, she didn't just, like, post a drawing on DeviantArt and then get immediately successful. That's not how it works. It's always a journey. You have to take your time. You have to market yourself.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people do is they'll put up their artwork and be like, why aren't people paying attention to me? I think they just hate me. I like, no one, I should be better than this. No, like, you're not marketing yourself. You can't expect people to magically know you exist.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that actually leads somewhat neatly into our next topic, which I think is the rewards.
Yeah, reward types.
Yeah, reward types.
We're going to give our opinions on what you should and should not do for reward.
Yeah.
And these are just opinions, and we'll give some reasoning for it, but, it's just opinions.
It is just like my opinion, man.
Yeah.
I had a couple things for this that I really wanted to talk about. My main two pet peeves for rewards. The first one is offering high res, like, they'll say high res, HD, high definition, full size artworks, like, as rewards.
Wow.
Yeah, into one. I don't know. They use either 3 of those or all of them to advertise it. It's like the full size, high res version of the image. In my mind, there is no way that this is a good thing as a reward. Like, Sakumi-chan, I don't know if she still does it, but she has a lot of people directly tracing her art because of this. People can also just take your artwork with or without watermark. It doesn't matter. If it's high res, it's printing quality. It's the full size for a poster. It doesn't matter if it even has your watermark on it. People can just edit it out. And they don't even need to be highly skilled to do that.
Yeah.
anyone who has basic Photoshop skills can do this. Like, all it's going to lead to is people either tracing your art or just directly taking it and selling it on merchandise without your knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's the same for if it's a comic page or just a regular illustration. I understand why you want to give it to your audience so, like, they can see the full thing. Just offer tutorials or something instead. Like, just show them your process. But there's no reason that you should give them that, because you can just give them a low res file. Like, it doesn't matter if it's low resolution, because that's only for printing.
Yeah.
Unless you're saving it as JPEG, which you should never do that. That's just a sin of the art world.
Mm.
JPEG has terrible compression.
I honestly don't. Honestly, I would never notice, because I can't see anyways.
I always save as PNG. It's better. It's much better quality.
PNG.
But does that cover? Sorry, I guess you guys. I was gonna ask, like, does that cover, like, for example, your free art resource scrap thing that you're kind of maybe doing, or are you doing that?
If I were to do something like that, what happened is I had an idea for a award where sometimes I'll draw a scene and I didn't kind of picture the perspective correctly, and it just messes up the panel and I have to completely redraw it from scratch. And so I thought I'd release those scraps to my Patreon so that they can just mess around just for personal use. And I'm not gonna lie, like, there's definitely the ability for people to steal that. However, it's unfinished work. It rarely has details. It's just like a human figure at best. It's like a sketch. And I can just say legally, these are just, it's for this use. And if I find people using it for commercial purposes, then I have the ability to take that down.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't, like, there's no reason that I would also offer it in high res. I can just offer it, as a small file size, and then if they want to make a complete picture out of it, in which they'd have to in order to sell it, in which it becomes a collaboration anyway, I can just release it as a full small file size, and they can scale it. They can do whatever they want to work with it.
Well, like, one of the ways to do this as well is just release stuff like that under, like, a Creative Commons, like, share alike.
Well, yeah, that's what I would do.
Derivative works allowed type of thing. And then non-commercial. So that way it's like, well, I mean, in order for you to use this, it has this.
People would say, oh, well, the artists release the higher resolution artworks. They have full copyright. People shouldn't be doing it. Yeah, but like.
Yeah, isn't reality.
Yeah, and people, like, the difference is like, these are completely, finished artworks where they can just take wholesale and then just sell on merchandise.
Yeah, this is kind of goes back to what we were talking about last time a little bit of the trying to mitigate theft by just making it physically difficult to steal. Because you can't steal something that's free, just as you can't really steal something that's not even finished. It's much, much more difficult. It's not impossible, but it's like less work that you have to deal with to keep up with all that.
Unless, I think Milana wants to say something, I don't know.
Sorry.
No, I wasn't. I was just kind of listening, but yeah, that's basically what we talked in previous video, and I feel like if people really want to, like, we are not going to repeat it too much because it was already covered pretty well, so people should definitely listen to the first part before listening to this part. And yeah, I don't really, but yeah, the whole paywall thing, like, personally, not really something I like either. I used to think it was sort of good idea, like, in some sense, but then I kind of realized that, well, why?
It can be in some cases, and I think it largely comes down to the kind of content you produce. As a whole, I think for artists, it's not really necessary. I think there's ways you can do it where it's not really a bad thing.
Well, like, if I were to be making physical items, for example, let's say I was someone who wanted to work with making my own, like, I don't know, I want to do stuff with, let's say, Raspberry Pis or something like that. And I want to make little game pies where you, like, 3D print out, like, a custom-made casing, and you put it in a little screen, everything, and you have this sort of, like, Game Boy type thing. Well, it's a game pie. And like say that's what I wanted my Patreon to be about, where I was going to put the hardware together and I wanted to maybe even write some of my own software and games to put on these things. I would make it a paywall for shipping these out.
Yeah.
Where I give be like, here, if you pay me, this much per month, I'll just give you a free one.
At that point, I think people could also argue, or you can just set up a store.
Yeah, or you could just set up a store. But there could be other stuff, right? Like you could have maybe, like say you are trying to make little game cartridge things with it or something, and maybe every time there's a new one or whatever, it's like, all right, now you just get it for free. It's like anytime there'd be like a new physical product for this, it's like the people paying me this much per month, just get one. You just get one for free. So every time there's a new one, it's like, bam, there you go. It's like they could get entire new versions of whatever the Game Pie, for example, would be. And it's like, well, you just get a new one. You still have your old one? Great. Give it to someone. Who cares? Doesn't matter. You get a new one. And like spreads it around that much more. That's the way you do it.
All I really want to say for art is overall, I think a tip jar system is better. But if you do paywall, and this is from a Patreon perspective, because I do support some artists and I decided not to support some artists because they do this. Don't lock down all of your art and then have the only artworks that you do show to the public where they're just really highly cropped versions with a big ugly logo across it. You need that advertising art. I don't have much incentive to pledge to you if I don't even know what your artwork looks like to begin with.
But that is something we covered in the last video.
Yes. So
the one thing, my one major pet peeve, and this is my pet peeve because I work with Spud Fuzz, is that never do a reward that you hate. You should know, in my opinion, the worst rewards are ones where you're like, well, I don't really like to do it, but hey, if you pay me enough money, then I'll do it. Because you're going to hate yourself. You are going to hate every second of it after a while. You're just going to...
If you have a lot of patrons, it's going to be hard to go back on that reward.
Yeah, it just gets to the point where it's like, oh my god, I'm only doing this because I have to, because I get this much money for doing it. And it's just going to drain you, and it's going to drag everything down that you do.
You could be earning thousands of dollars, but you're still going to hate yourself.
Yeah, and thus, realistically, in my opinion, I don't even like rewards, personally. Unless they're unbelievably minor, just scrap giveaway things, because the reward, in my opinion, should be the thing that you're already creating. And if you are doing extra work on top of that, then to me, it's like, what's the point? Because it's not what you wanted to do.
What the patrons get out of it is that if they can support the artist or creator, whoever they are, enough, that the person can make a living off of it, then that work, becomes not only more quality, but it also becomes more regular.
Yeah.
So basically, you pay for a recurring feed of good quality work.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you try to make yourself do things that you hate, it'll always fail. What you really, really should focus on is find something you just like to do and only do that, and then figure out a way to get paid for it. That's pretty much it. That's what Patreon, well, not just Patreon. There's other sites, other ways of doing the same thing, but we're using Patreon practically like a verb or like its own sort of, I don't know, saying. I don't know what the word is, but the point is, it's like these things are more about passion than they are the money.
Yeah. Passion
is always, always, always going to produce higher quality work than any material incentive ever will. It just will. If you can combine the passion aspect with just getting some material reward for it on top of that, then that's where you want to be. That's where you will get the most skill you can possibly get because you actually care to improve. And that's where as a result, you're going to probably get the most material reward out of it as well because everyone else can see it. The reason that people even pay for anything, the reason that money and all that really even exists is because not everyone can do everything. Some people like to do, some people like to do one thing and some people like to do the other, but they like the idea of the first thing. They would love the result, but they don't want to put the effort into doing it. So they pay the first person to do it for them. You know?
The other point is a big mistake people make is it's pretty much the same thing where they'll decide, oh, I'm going to make my Patreon about drawing pictures, or like, they say, oh, I'll make it about doing my comic. But all the rewards you see are like, I'll do these commissions. I'll draw you a wallpaper every month. And it's like, this is so much extra work on top of what you're already doing. This isn't even about your comic anymore. You should have just made the Patreon about doing these rewards as your content.
And I think that comes back to that idea, the externalism and internalism idea, where it's like, well, no one's going to care about it. No one's going to care unless they're getting something out of it. Well, isn't the thing you're already producing the thing they're getting out of it?
Yeah, it's like, if you think that way, then just open a store, or open commissions. Don't waste your time with a Patreon. Because if people are just pledging for those rewards, as soon as you realize that you hate them, you don't want to do them anymore, you just lost all your patrons.
Yeah.
It's like the fan art thing.
Pretty much.
And I kind of feel like people, like when they're doing Patreon and other stuff like that, the ultimate goal, at least this is just for me personally, but what I want is to feel like I touch those that, support me, whatever it's financially or not financially, that I'm able to touch those people, that I'm able to connect those people. So that's also kind of why if you do what you hate, like if you do what you hate just to get the money, you're not really going to touch anyone. And I don't really know what but like for me personally, like I feel good when other people feel good. I get this, I get the feeling of, I don't know, when your body starts to produce the sort of drug that makes you feel good. Like I get those. What?
Endorphins?
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think so, maybe.
We're not scientists.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's dopamine.
Dopamine?
I'm pretty sure dopamine is the reward hormone or reward, it's not a hormone, it's a neurotransmitter, but whatever.
Yeah.
Point is, yeah.
Things happen.
Yeah. The point is basically that when I'm able to make someone happy, I get the dopamine for it, and
you get dope. You all doped up.
Dopamine.
Anyways, go ahead.
I said dopamine. The thank you. Whatever, but I don't really know. Like, I'm not really trying to make a case, I guess, but just for me personally, like, making myself feel like I'm part of the people who follow me and who watch my content, like, that for me is like reward as it whatever. And like I kind of want to make people feel the same way, that we are, like, I'm not just an artist who's high up there and they are not just follower who's down there, but instead that we are just kind of one and the same, same people. And
yeah,
like, I guess the only point I'm kind of trying to make is that people dismiss the sort of, because we are social creatures and we kind of want to feel like we belong. So I feel like a lot of people dismiss the psychologic behind it, like, the sense that you are part of something. Because if people are left alone, they basically what you talk about, that if people don't have any art, they're gonna go nuts. But it's also like human influence as well. So
no, it makes sense because it was the entire point of websites like Patreon, which made Patreon itself so successful. It was an innovation.
Yeah.
Where it just cuts out the middleman. Like me as a comic artist, I can go independent now, and I can just try to reach out to an audience and get crowdfunded that way to become a working professional. I don't have to go and apply to like all these comic book publishers, and then I have to completely change my content just to suit their taste for what they think is marketable.
Yeah.
And it's the same for everyone. And it's not just the fact that it makes it better for us artists or creatives, whatever, where we don't have to change our content for the middleman. But we get that intimate relationship with our audience directly.
Yeah, exactly. You were able to say my thing much better with much less words. I hate you. No, I love you.
Give yourself more credit. You're still learning the language.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the spot, the language police, like always mocking me. You know I'm gonna pay that back eventually.
Hey, to be fair, I wasn't calling you out on them for this just because you're doing a podcast.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, not to go off topic. Yeah, basically it's kind of like what I feel is sort of happening with the whole reward thing is that Patreon itself is sort of becoming the middleman, the kind of alienating people, and people are kind of starting to lose the sight of what Patreon is actually about. Like, it's about having a direct connection with you and those who love your work, not the money that flows in between.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And to be honest, you don't actually need Patreon in order to do that. It's just that Patreon is a convenient central hub to find all of this. But honestly, if you really wanted to, you could set up your own website. You could set up your own sort of subscription thing and get 100% of the money instead of only, 85% of it? So
something like that. I can't remember the rate.
If you wanted to do that, it's just that Patreon is something that is conveniently there, like specifically to help you do this, and so you don't have to do it yourself.
It streamlines it for the audience and the creators because a lot of other creators are there, so supporters can support various artists without having to sign up for a bunch of different things.
Yeah, and that's what's really convenient about it.
Yeah.
And then we go into cross-pollination.
Pollination and cross-pollination. The short version of what pollination is it's just being active in various communities. It's kind of a subtle form of advertising, but it's not, because you're not going out to these places. Like, for example, it's just like talking in a forum is pollination. When you go and you talk in a forum, or go and talk in like YouTube comments or whatever, you kind of put yourself out there. People see that you exist and they see your personality. And it gives them the opportunity to click on you and be like, well, this person said something that is interesting or whatever. And then realize that you do all this, you do stuff. So it kind of helps advertise without actually needing to advertise, if that makes sense.
I got a few subscribers I'm very sure just from talking in the comments, because I'd been too busy to upload videos in a while, and I managed to actually get some subscribers just by being active on YouTube.
Yeah, and that's what pollination is. Cross-pollination, on the other hand, is what we're doing right now with Milana Mill, where you have two content creators, and they're sort of joining together to do something like not corroborative, but, well, I guess it is corroborative in a way. Like, we're all making this video. The first part was hosted on Spud Fuzz's channel, and the second part is going to be hosted on Milana Mill's channel. And what stuff like this does is it helps both sides. The audience of one has the ability now to flow to the other because they know the other one exists, and they're both content creators.
Yeah.
The important thing with content with cross-pollination is that if you're going to do it, you have to be doing it within your own genre, if that makes sense. Like, artists would cross-pollinate with other artists.
You wouldn't do it with musicians.
Yeah, well, you might.
Not unless it was something like, they do this for comics sometimes, where, like, maybe I hired someone to do some music for some of my pages that people, like, the music would play when people would listen to the page. I could do it like that way, but I wouldn't go and plug, like, say I had a friend who did, like, heavy metal and it had nothing to do with my content. I wouldn't plug them. They wouldn't plug me.
Yeah, what would be the point? They don't have anything to do with each other. Those two audiences don't really mix. So So the idea with this is that friends help friends. That's the fundamental basis of what cross-pollination, in my opinion, should be, or like how it really should be used.
Yeah.
Where you have, because if one person in your group of friends starts getting success and you help them get success, well, it kind of spreads to you as well. And again, that sounds like really selfish, but it's not really meant to be. It's not.
Yeah.
What is selfish is being like, oh, my friend's getting popular and I'm not. They're just a horrible person. I'm gonna stop talking to them.
Yeah.
It's really stupid.
That's really petty. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and basically what I said before we started recording is that people, like, this also comes down to sort of jealousy thing. Like, people always think that, you know, others are always jealous of someone else's success or, you know, stuff like that. But what people also need to realize is that if you have like friends or some people that you know, like helping those people become successful will eventually help you. So you should in fact encourage the people around you to be successful because it's gonna pay you back. Like if you do like let's say that you do collabs or stuff like that and you help the smaller person to boost their popularity, if the person who used to be a small say small artist, if they're going to become a big artist sometime, then you can collab them again and then their followers are gonna come to you and you're basically gonna make each other popular. Like that's basically what I think that people don't really appreciate enough.
Entirely. And the most important thing is celebrate their success. Be genuinely happy for them. Don't like it's okay to feel jealous, but it's how you apply that jealousy. Like you let it fuel your desire to become better at your own craft. Not out of a sense of like there's healthy competition and there's bad competition. Like you can let it just overcome you, not control it. And then be like really snide to them and like be passive aggressive and be like, oh yeah, it's good that you got a lot of followers. I just, you know, I was posting things and no one liked my stuff.
Yeah.
Like yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, because I remember that, well, this was long time ago, but when I was just starting out and I was kind of young anyway. You know, I used to also be jealous and I used to be really frustrated as well about it. And then I just kind of changed my mentality. Like I just made a 390-degree turn. I was like, I'm gonna stop this self-pity. And you know, when I learned to channel my jealousy in different way, like now I cannot even say that I get jealous. Like to be honest, I don't think I really get jealous. Like I think I more get fueled or inspired to work on my own thing. Like
yeah. No, I agree. I find that too. Like, it's so long ago that I can't really remember if I ever got jealous, but when I see someone who's like really, really amazing and that's kind of like the kind of art or whatever it is that I want to do, it's like, oh my God, that's so cool. Look, they have like 100,000 followers and they're doing this as a living. That means I can do it too. I just have to practice more.
Exactly.
It should be taken as an example or like a bar that you can set yourself to rather than, oh, I'll never be like them. Well, it goes back to this is a skill. You just have to take your time to get better.
Yeah, that's why people. Yeah, but yeah, that's why people should celebrate other success because I was kind of like you can also think of it like this way. People cannot fly, for example. Even like people don't try to fly like on their own. They don't try to grow a pair of wings and fly because they know it's not possible. It's never been done. I mean, yeah, sure, maybe some people, but but you know, generally people don't try to do things that are impossible. So when something is possible, you should celebrate that because if that person can do it, you can do it. Like
you might even find that you do it better eventually. You don't know.
And also, impossible is only in your mind when you get down to it. Like, that's the thing, right back to the jealousy, is they look at it and go, well, I'll never be able to do that. So in their own mind, they deemed it impossible.
They set that standard for themselves.
Like, and I'll give you well, actually no, I won't give you this example. Never mind.
Is it off topic?
It wasn't off topic, it just had to do with martial arts stuff.
Oh, it's a little off topic.
So, yeah.
But yeah, like, but like for me, it's just, how should I, how should I say it? I don't know, like, basically, I just personally feel a lot more happier with my own work. Like, sure, I'm really critical towards my own work. That's what I that's what I am. But like overall, when I see great artists and popular artists, it just fuels me more. Like, they can do it, I can do it, and I actually want to put in more effort. Like, I'm actually like, this makes me inspired to learn. It makes learning fun, and and people should also enjoy the journey. Like, look where you gay, like, look at where you came from and where you are now, and think that you know road is different from every person. Just because some people got popular faster than you or got better faster than you, that doesn't really mean that you cannot do it either.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
What's
no, I was just the way I sort of like to think of it is, if you imagine people running, for example, like, imagine a running competition. The other person has long legs and the other person has short legs. Now, the person who has long legs, they are obviously able to run faster, by not kind of picking up the pace, while the person who has shorter legs, they kind of need to put more effort into just to be as fast. But the thing is that even if you have short legs, there are things you can work on. You can build up your stamina, so even if you are not able to run as fast, you are able to run, longer amounts. Like, I feel like people just look things too black and white, because every weakness can become a strength if you know how to use it.
pretty much. And even on the topic of improvement for art, what a lot of young artists don't realize is that it actually doesn't take very long to become very, very skilled, like even at a top, like, master level. There was a saying for most skills, it's something like it only takes 10,000 hours to kind of push into the professional spectrum.
Yeah.
You were telling me about that, Teresa. Do you remember that?
What, the 10,000 hour rule or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's like, to master a skill takes about 10,000 hours. And allegedly, if I remember correctly, this isn't just like a number that someone pulled out of a hat. It was like, there was either surveys done or something, and they found out that, that's approximately the amount of time these various people in various skill sets had put in to get to the skill that they're at now.
I could be wrong. I could be entirely wrong on this, but I think would it be like 2 years? Or
yeah, it was something like, if you, like, 2 years of total direct time, something like that. It was something like that.
Yeah, because there were people on concept art. Unfortunately, like, the website was really good back in its days, but it's pretty much dead now. But like, it's a place where people went to get like really good critiques constantly. And some people came out of that, like, right from beginner to like professionals working for game companies doing concept art, and they were like, the results were phenomenal. And this was in a short amount of time, like 2 to 4 years. And a lot of people on DeviantArt spend like 10 years trying to get to the same level. It's not because they're bad at art, it's just because they're not like constantly applying themselves to improvement. They're just kind of having fun. That's not a bad thing, but if you do want improvement, you have to be able to accept critiques and constantly go out and do a lot of just studies.
Yeah.
I would argue the biggest thing with that is you have to not care about results, you have to care about effort.
Yeah.
Because like, the biggest thing with this is that you have to, in my personal opinion, and I know some people would not like this, but you pretty much have to never think that you did good enough.
Mm.
And I don't mean you hate what you did. It's just that you always look and go, yeah, it's pretty good, but could have been better. I made all these mistakes over here. And the reason why that then makes it more important to value the effort rather than the result is because if you value the result and you do that, you're just going to be like, I can't do it. Because you're just going to look and go, oh, I made all these mistakes. Look at how crappy I am. Whereas if you look at the effort, you're looking at like, okay, like I care that I'm putting in the effort and that I am improving.
Mm.
So
it's
and
it's
go ahead,
important.
sorry.
Yeah, I was just like, it's important to appreciate like what you're doing right now, but it's also important to realize that there's always something you could do better. Like, because you can, just like with, like, you kind of just have to be able to find the middle ground. You cannot hate your art because that's not healthy, but you cannot really blindly love your art either, because then you usually lose the critical thinking and start to become emotional, which is also a bad thing.
Yeah. That leads into the narcissism, which
leads to the dark side.
Yeah. I think we really should make like a podcast or something about the improvement and stuff, because there's
Yes.
there's a lot of things that I especially want to talk about, because I went through some of those, like, it's kind of personal for me especially.
No, I'd be happy to do this. But I do think we should wind it down because I think we've pretty much covered all the Patreon topics specifically and as many analogies as we can possibly give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much roundabout things of saying the same things. Especially at the end, like I don't know what all that really had to do with cross pollination. I know it did have stuff to do with it because it's about the jealousy and how you want to
It's still
pump up other
it's still
people.
important, like, because what we're trying to do is get down to the roots of the emotional issues that cause these, like, people to think certain ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think there can be much more said about it.
Other than just listing, the various places people can find us.
Mm.
Really.
Oh, yeah, just do the outro.
Just do the outro, really. Like, I don't know what else there could be.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Well,
so,
you can explain yourself where people can find you. I will put the link to the description, at least for your YouTube channel, so people can check the description. But if there's some other places that you want.
Yes, there is.
Yes, there's a couple. I'm everywhere and I'm trying to decide what my main websites are. I'm actually on minds.com. It's an alternative to Facebook. We like it because Facebook basically kicked me out of my own account and they want government ID to prove that I'm myself and I don't want to give them that, so.
It's like, oh yeah, we'll put that on a centralized server that can be hacked like all the other centralized servers. Nothing's gonna go wrong with that at all.
Too dangerous for me. So,
yeah.
I'm on a website called minds.com/spudfuzz.
MINDS.
Yes, like your mind, your brain.
Yeah.
I'm on YouTube, which will be in the description. I think that, like, for me, that's all I really want to put out.
You don't want to put out BitChute?
Oh,
I think everyone has to be on BitChute.
I can plug my BitChute. I haven't got any videos up because I'm still in the process of being approved.
And the very, very, very short version of it is that the more people who use BitChute, the faster and better it runs.
Mm. I think I will link your DeviantArt as well, because that's.
Oh, yeah, sure, that's important.
Yeah. You didn't mention it, like.
Yeah, I forgot it existed for a second there.
Oh, and BitChute is. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry. BitChute is bitchute.com. Not SHOOT. It's CHUTE.
Yay. So, yeah, I think that rounds up this video. So, all the necessary links will be in description, as well as the first part. If you still haven't watched it, you should go and watch it. And yeah, maybe we will do more videos in the future.
I hope so.
I definitely will.
Yeah. So, I guess we say bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Hey, hey.